Chapter 1. Rebirth in a Broken Body. In the grand hall of the sect, the flickering torchlight illuminated Lin Wu's bloodied face. Kneeling on the cold stone floor, he could feel the icy stares and scornful gazes of those who once called him a brother. They stood in rows, weapons gleaming, ready to end his life. Did you think you could control everything with your talent, Lin Wu? The familiar voice of Tong Min rang out, dripping with mockery and cruelty. Your power is a threat. By now, you should understand that. Tong Min, once his closest friend and comrade in countless battles, now pointed a sword directly at his heart. Lin Wu wanted to resist, but his body was exhausted, and his spiritual power had been completely drained. Everything had been stolen in a perfect betrayal by his fellow disciples. Tong Min, Lin Wu struggled to speak. You will pay for this. As the last words left his lips, Tong Min's sword pierced his heart. The pain faded, replaced by an encroaching darkness. In his final moments, a vow echoed in his mind. If there is a next life, I will never let anyone betray me again. Blinding light streaming through the gaps of a tattered roof roused Lin Wu. He tried to move, but his entire body ached as if crushed. The smell of damp earth mixed with herbal medicine made his head spin. This was not the sect. It was not the place where he had died. What happened? Lin Wu wondered, but his parched throat could only produce a hoarse croak. The small, cramped room was astonishingly simple. The wooden walls were old and decaying, and the only furniture was a small table and a few low stools. Everything felt utterly foreign. Then, faint memories surged into his mind, memories that did not belong to him. They were of another person, also named Lin Wu, a young man from a poor village scorned for his broken spiritual meridians that rendered him incapable of cultivation. I've been reborn? Lin Wu clenched his fists instinctively. His soul had merged with this fragile body, giving him a second chance to start anew. An old aunt entered the room, carrying a bowl of herbal medicine in her hands. Her face was wrinkled, and her expression grim, yet her eyes held a trace of concern. She set the bowl before Lin Wu and grumbled, "Drink it. This body is as weak as a noodle, just waiting to die. If you won't drink, you're on your own." Though her words were harsh, Lin Wu sensed her sincere care. He drained the bitter bowl, the taste tormenting every nerve. As the medicine took effect, he felt a faint energy begin to circulate weakly through his body. Over the next few days, Lin Wu gradually adapted to his new form. Memories of the crippled Lin Wu returned piece by piece, revealing a bleak life of scorn from villagers, bullying by local thugs led by Trong Hao, and relentless toil just to survive. But he was no longer the weakling of the past. From now on, everything will be different, he vowed, his eyes burning with determination. I cannot change the past, but I will take control of my future. One day, while out gathering herbs for the old aunt, Lin Wu encountered Trong Hao and his gang. They laughed loudly at the sight of him. Useless trash, out picking weeds to survive again? Why are you still alive, wasting space? Lin Wu stayed silent, but his cold gaze unsettled Trong Hao. Angered, Trong Hao swung his hand to strike, but Lin Wu quickly dodged. His frail body lost balance and fell, yet his eyes showed unyielding defiance. You should learn to bow down, Trong Hao sneered before leaving with his cronies. Back home, Lin Wu sat under the dim glow of an oil lamp, silently examining his thin, weak hands. He knew he had to change, not just to survive but to ensure no one could ever trample on him again. That night, Lin Wu scoured every corner of the house. He discovered an ancient book hidden in a dusty cabinet. As he flipped through its pages, he realized it was a manual for profound cultivation techniques. Drawing upon memories from his previous life, he quickly grasped its value. The manual could not only restore damaged meridians but also turn weaknesses into strengths. However, mastering it required a rare herb called Heaven's Heart Lotus, which only grew in dangerous, remote mountains. Gazing at the pages, Lin Wu smirked coldly. Let's see where this opportunity will take me. From that day on, Lin Wu began training his body, step by step preparing for the journey ahead. Chapter 2. Rebirth through Mystical Arts. After discovering the ancient book hidden in an old cabinet, Lin Wu spent the entire night studying its contents. The intricate symbols and diagrams detailed a rare cultivation technique called mystical primordial arts. According to the records, this technique had the power to restore broken meridians, regulate the flow of spiritual energy within the body, and even transform weaknesses into extraordinary strengths. However, the prerequisite for initiating the practice required a rare herb known as the Heaven's Heart Lotus. Lin Wu understood that finding this herb would not be easy, but he had no other choice. If he wanted to change his fate, he had to embrace danger. Before seeking the herb, Lin Wu decided to focus on improving his physical strength. His current body, frail and devoid of energy, was his greatest obstacle. He began with simple exercises like walking around the village, practicing deep breathing to control the flow of air within his body, and gradually intensifying his regimen. The initial days were filled with pain. Each step felt like his body was being torn apart, but the indomitable willpower from his past life drove him forward. When night fell, he sat by the flickering oil lamp, regulating his breathing and trying to sense the faint streams of energy coursing through his meridians. Though progress was slow, Lin Wu could feel his body changing day by day. During a trip outside the village to gather herbs for the old aunt, Lin Wu overheard a conversation among villagers. They spoke of a distant mountain where a cave was rumored to contain rare and precious herbs. However, the area was said to be fraught with dangers, from wild beasts to natural traps. Lin Wu immediately recognized this as a potential lead to the Heaven's Heart Lotus. Quietly noting the details, he resolved to embark on the journey when he was ready. After a week of preparation, Lin Wu set out from the village early in the morning, carrying a small cloth bag with some food and water. The mountain he aimed for was a day's journey away, surrounded by dense forests. The journey was arduous, as he navigated treacherous terrain, from slippery rocky slopes to thorn-filled underbrush. At one point, he nearly fell into a deep ravine, but his sheer will to survive kept him steady. As Lin Wu approached the rumored cave, a thunderous roar shattered the forest's tranquility. From the bushes emerged a colossal spirit tiger, its crimson eyes blazing and sharp fangs bared in menace. Lin Wu quickly realized he couldn't confront the beast head-on. Formulating a plan, he used the terrain to evade and outmaneuver it. After a tense chase, he lured the tiger into a natural stone trap, injuring it severely and rendering it unable to continue the pursuit. Exhausted but alive, Lin Wu collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. He knew that without quick thinking, his journey might have ended there. Venturing deeper into the cave, Lin Wu was drawn to a faint bluish glow emanating from a dark corner. As he hoped, there before him was a cluster of Heaven's Heart Lotus, its delicate, gem-like petals emitting a soothing fragrance. Carefully, Lin Wu harvested a sprig, his heart swelling with satisfaction. But just as he prepared to leave, a loud rumble echoed from the depths of the cave. Slowly, a massive stone spider emerged, its fiery eyes fixed on him. The stone spider let out a guttural roar, threatening to annihilate the intruder. Despite his frail body, Lin Wu summoned all his strength and wits to fight back. He used the narrow spaces in the cave to evade its attacks, employing sharp rocks as improvised weapons. The intense battle drained him, but in the end, a well-aimed strike to the spider's eye brought it down. Though victorious, Lin Wu was at his physical limits. Without wasting any time, he hurried out of the cave with the precious herb in hand. Back at home, Lin Wu isolated himself in his small room, beginning the cultivation process outlined in the ancient book. He meticulously used the Heaven's Heart Lotus to craft a detoxifying potion, an essential step to activate his broken meridians. The process was excruciating and fraught with danger. His body felt as though it was burning from the inside, but his unwavering determination saw him through. After 3 days and nights of relentless effort, the first stream of spiritual energy coursed through his body. The sensation was so exhilarating that he smiled despite his exhaustion. This is only the beginning, he thought. As his body adjusted to the newfound energy, Lin Wu realized that he had not only restored his meridians but also discovered a strange power within the technique. It allowed him to control the flow of energy in his body with remarkable precision, unlocking abilities he had never imagined. Standing before a mirror, he gazed at his own resolute reflection. "I will grow stronger," he vowed, "and no one will ever stop me again." Chapter 3: The Mysterious Alchemist. After successfully activating the first stream of spiritual energy in his body through the mystical primordial arts, Lin Wu felt significant changes. His meridians had partially regenerated, and though his strength was still limited, he knew this was just the beginning of a greater journey. To continue his cultivation, he needed more rare herbs. According to the ancient book, these herbs could only be found in deep mountains or desolate, dangerous areas. Wasting no time, Lin Wu decided to return to the mountain where he had previously found the Heaven's Heart Lotus. As Lin Wu made his way through the dense forest toward the mountain, he sensed something unusual. The birds had gone silent, and the air felt oppressively still. Moving cautiously, he suddenly heard distant screams. Hiding himself, Lin Wu observed the situation. Ahead was a young woman dressed in blue, her long black hair flowing in the wind. Her face was filled with panic as she fled from a group of men in black robes. These men, likely assassins, carried an air of cold malice and killing intent. The girl ran into a narrow, overgrown path, but one of the assassins quickly closed in, swinging his sword toward her. Without thinking, Lin Wu hurled a rock at the assassin's wrist, deflecting the blade. "Who are you?" the assassin barked, his eyes fixed on Lin Wu. "You don't need to know," Lin Wu replied coldly, his gaze sharp as a blade. Knowing he wasn't yet strong enough to face the assassin's head-on, Lin Wu couldn't simply let the girl fall into their hands. He used the forest terrain to his advantage, evading and countering their attacks. His newly restored spiritual energy granted him agility, making it harder for the assassins to corner him. However, their numbers were overwhelming, and they gradually closed in. Just as Lin Wu was about to be trapped, the girl unexpectedly unleashed a cloud of purple smoke that caused the assassins to stagger. Recognizing it as a rare poison technique, Lin Wu understood her skill. "Run!" the girl shouted, grabbing his hand and pulling him away before the assassins could recover. After escaping their pursuers, the pair stopped by a small stream to rest. Lin Wu studied the girl more closely. Her delicate face was pale, and her hand was bleeding. Yet her eyes shone brightly, reflecting determination and vigilance. "Thank you for helping me," she said in a clear but steady voice. "I am Yen Nhi, a wandering alchemist." Lin Wu raised an eyebrow. Alchemists were rare in the world of cultivation, often revered for their ability to create medicines and elixirs. But there was something different about Yen Nhi, she carried a mysterious aura. "Who's chasing you?" he asked, his eyes never leaving hers. Yen Nhi hesitated before replying softly, "I took something I shouldn't have, and now they want to kill me to get it back." Under the moonlight, Yen Nhi told her story. She had once been a disciple of a small sect, where she learned the art of alchemy. By chance, she discovered a formula for a miraculous elixir capable of breaking cultivation barriers. When this secret was revealed, the elders of her sect sought not only to seize the formula but also to silence her forever. Forced to flee, Yen Nhi took the formula and a few rare herbs with her. "I can't trust anyone anymore," Yen Nhi sighed. "But you saved me. What do you want from me? If it's herbs, I can repay you." Lin Wu looked at her calmly and said, "I don't need your herbs. But if you want to survive, we'll need to work together." Though initially wary, Yen Nhi realized she had no other choice. The appearance of the assassins made it clear that she was being relentlessly hunted. Meanwhile, Lin Wu recognized that Yen Yi's skills could complement his own weaknesses. The two formed a plan. Yen Nhi would help Lin Wu create temporary strength-enhancing elixirs, while he would protect her from the pursuers. What began as a partnership of necessity gradually evolved. Lin Wu came to admire Yen Yi's resilience and intelligence, while Yen Nhi saw in him a man not only strong but also deeply compassionate beneath his exterior. As they returned toward the village, more assassins appeared, this time greater in number and ferocity. Yen Nhi used her poison techniques to slow them down, but some still managed to close in. With the help of the elixirs Yen Nhi crafted, Lin Wu fought fiercely to block their path. In this battle, he discovered that his spiritual energy had grown stronger and that he was gaining mastery over the techniques taught by the mystical primordial arts. After a grueling fight, the pair finally escaped and found shelter in a small cave. Yen Nhi tended to Lin Wu's wounds with her skilled hands, but her eyes betrayed a deep sorrow. "Have you ever wondered," she asked, "if fate is something we can never escape?" Lin Wu was silent for a moment before replying, "Fate is made by people. I don't believe in destiny. If you want to change it, you have to fight for it yourself." Yen Nhi looked at him, her eyes reflecting newfound hope. Though they had only just met, his words resonated deeply with her heart. Chapter 4: The Spiritual Herb and the Promise. In a small cave deep within the forest, the faint glow of a campfire reflected off the rocky walls. Yen Nhi carefully bandaged the wounds on Lin Wu's arms and shoulders. The deep cuts from their battle with the assassins still throbbed, but he endured the pain without uttering a sound. "You're strange," Yen Nhi said, breaking the silence. "People like me, when being hunted, always choose to run. Not many would risk their lives for a stranger like you." "I don't help for free," Lin Wu replied, his sharp gaze tinged with sincerity. "If we want to survive, we have to rely on each other." Yen Nhi let out a faint chuckle, but there was a hint of relief in her smile. "You make it sound as easy as eating a bun, but stepping onto this path means there's no turning back." After tending to the wounds, Yen Nhi sat by the fire, her gaze distant as she looked out through the cave entrance. A cool misty breeze blew gently, but her heart was heavy with memories. "Do you know why I'm being hunted?" she asked, her voice light but profound. Lin Wu stayed silent, allowing her to continue. "Since I was young, I've been passionate about medicine. But in this world, alchemists are just tools for major sects and powerful families. I refuse to be a tool. I want to master every kind of poison and elixir. I want to become the greatest alchemist. She turned to him, her eyes blazing with determination. But to achieve that, I need to find the rarest spiritual herbs and craft the most powerful elixirs. Unfortunately, this world isn't kind to people like me. Lin Wu nodded, sensing the depth of her resolve. He realized Yen Nhi was not just an ordinary alchemist but someone driven by grand ideals. In the days that followed, the two hid in the cave to recover their strength. Yen Nhi used the herbs she carried to concoct medicines that enhanced physical recovery and temporarily boosted vitality. You really have a talent, Lin Wu remarked as he felt his body gradually regaining its strength. I'm not good at fighting, but healing is my expertise, Yen Nhi replied with a hint of pride. Despite her efforts, she didn't allow herself much rest. She frequently scouted around the cave, listening for any signs of the assassins. Each time she returned, her eyes betrayed a flicker of worry, though she said nothing. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Yen Nhi suddenly spoke. Do you regret helping me? If we hadn't met, you wouldn't be caught up in this mess. Lin Wu was silent for a moment before replying calmly, I don't regret it. This world has always been dangerous. You're just one part of my journey, but an important part. Yen Nhi smiled faintly. Do you know, I need to find a herb called the Jade Heart Branch. It's essential for crafting the Poison Heart Pill, an elixir capable of breaking physical limits. But this herb is extremely rare and only grows in perilous places. Lin Wu met her gaze, his eyes burning with resolve. If that's what you need, I'll help you find it. His simple yet sincere words caught Yen Nhi off guard. In a world rife with betrayal and selfishness, she hadn't expected someone to offer their help so selflessly. Aren't you afraid of dying? She teased. Lin Wu shrugged. I've already died once. This time, I just want to live more meaningfully. The next day, once both had recovered enough to leave the cave, Yen Nhi handed Lin Wu a small green pill. This is a Qing Ling pill. It's not very potent, but it will help you recover spiritual energy faster during battles. I don't have many, so use it sparingly. Thank you, Lin Wu said, carefully tucking the pill into his pocket. Before leaving, Yen Nhi pointed toward the distant mountain range, its peaks shrouded in mist. The Jade Heart Branch might grow there, but I can't be certain. It's a place few dare to tread. Lin Wu nodded without hesitation. Then we'll go. On their way out of the cave area, the assassins reappeared, this time in greater numbers and seemingly more determined. It's them again, Yen Nhi muttered, her face tinged with concern. Lin Wu quickly pulled her behind him, drawing a small dagger from his belt. Though he knew his current strength wasn't enough to face them all, he had no intention of running away. Can you use your poison techniques? He asked. Yen Nhi nodded, swiftly retrieving a small pouch of powder from her side. The two worked in sync. Lin Wu blocked the assassin's path while Yen Nhi seized the opportunity to release her poisonous smoke, temporarily incapacitating their pursuers. After a tense battle, the pair finally found an opening to escape. They fled into a dense forest where it was harder for the assassins to track them. You seem quite familiar with this, Lin Wu remarked, breathing heavily. It's a survival skill, Yen Nhi replied, her eyes glinting with determination. If you don't adapt, you die. Despite the danger, neither wasted any time. They knew that to escape their current predicament, they needed to grow stronger, faster, and more decisive. As night fell, they found a temporary shelter by a small stream. Lin Wu kept watch outside, his gaze scanning the darkness as he calculated their next moves. Yen Nhi stepped out, carrying a water pouch. She handed it to him, her voice soft. You've done a lot, maybe I owe you a thank you. You don't owe me anything, Lin Wu replied, his eyes calm. We're just walking the same path. Chapter 5, Sect Trials. After several days of trekking through treacherous mountain paths, Lin Wu and Yen Nhi stumbled upon a small village near the foot of a mountain. It was the perfect place to rest and prepare for their next journey. While investigating rare spiritual herbs, they heard rumors of a major sect recruitment trial taking place nearby. Joining a sect? Yen Nhi raised an eyebrow as Lin Wu expressed his intention. Don't you think you're being too hasty? With your current strength, how do you plan to pass their tests? Lin Wu simply smiled, his gaze resolute. I need power, and a sect is the best place to train and grow. If I want to achieve my goals, this is a necessary step. Though not entirely convinced, Yen Nhi understood that Lin Wu wasn't someone who changed his mind easily. She decided to accompany him, hoping to find valuable resources to craft her elixirs. The Heavenly Sword Sect, one of the largest sects in the region, was renowned for its formidable disciples and the rigorous trials it set for aspiring members. When Lin Wu and Yen Nhi arrived, hundreds of young people had already gathered, each burning with the desire to become a disciple of the sect. The atmosphere buzzed with tension. Conversations, probing glances, and subtle schemes filled the air, all revolving around the upcoming trials. Yen Nhi, with her keen perception, quickly noticed the calculating faces of those willing to trample others to achieve their ambitions. Be careful, she whispered to Lin Wu. This isn't just a recruitment trial. It's a battlefield. The trials began with a series of elimination tests to weed out the weak. Candidates were required to traverse a dense forest filled with traps and dangerous spirit beasts. While fending off a pack of wolf beasts, Lin Wu unexpectedly encountered a female sword cultivator exuding strength and grace. Her masterful swordsmanship effortlessly cut down the beasts. You're weak, she said, her cold gaze sweeping over Lin Wu. He didn't take offense and simply smiled. But I'm still standing, aren't I? The girl raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a disdainful smirk. I am Bai Shui. If you're good enough, we'll meet again in the next round. In the next round, candidates were paired randomly for one-on-one duels. Lin Wu's opponent was a large man with overwhelming strength. The battle was intense, but using his agility and the spiritual energy restored by the mystical primordial arts, Lin Wu quickly exploited a weakness and emerged victorious. Elsewhere, Bai Shui easily defeated her opponent with her sharp and precise sword techniques, leaving everyone in awe. All eyes turned to her, recognizing her as one of the strongest contenders. When their paths crossed again, Bai Shui threw him a challenging glance. You were lucky to make it through this round. Don't expect it to be so easy next time. I don't rely on luck, Lin Wu replied calmly. If we meet again, I'll prove it to you. The final trial was a test of spiritual energy, where candidates had to navigate a complex formation designed to test their willpower and energy reserves. Those lacking in spiritual strength or determination were quickly eliminated. While most candidates showed signs of exhaustion and panic, Lin Wu remained composed, using the energy control techniques he had honed with the mystical primordial arts. The flow of spiritual energy in his body guided him steadily through the formation. Ahead of him, Bai Shui moved with precision, her sharp eyes and confident steps revealing no flaws. The two finished the trial almost simultaneously, becoming the first to pass the formation. When the trials concluded, fewer than 10 candidates remained from the hundreds who had started. Those who passed were officially welcomed as disciples of the sect. At the induction ceremony, the elder in charge scrutinized each candidate with a piercing gaze. When he reached Lin Wu, he paused briefly, a spark of curiosity flashing in his eyes. You have potential, he said in a deep voice. But potential isn't everything. I hope you'll prove your worth. Standing nearby, Bai Shui smirked. Don't get left behind, weakling. Lin Wu met her gaze with unshakable determination. We'll see who gets left behind. Though Bai Shui's words carried an air of disdain, Lin Wu recognized that she wasn't necessarily an enemy. Her decisiveness and exceptional swordsmanship earned his respect, and he knew she could become an important ally in the future. Similarly, Bai Shui observed Lin Wu quietly. Though she wouldn't admit it, his resilience and calm demeanor during the trials had piqued her interest. After officially becoming a disciple, Lin Wu was assigned to the area designated for new recruits. In his initial days, he familiarized himself with the sect's operations while continuing to train and strengthen his abilities. Bai Shui, as one of the standout new disciples, was quickly invited to join special training sessions. Though she never said it outright, her gaze often wandered to Lin Wu, as if gauging whether he could keep up with her. One quiet evening, while meditating to refine his spiritual energy, Lin Wu suddenly sensed an unusual presence. The energy seemed to lead him to an abandoned area of the sect. There, he discovered an ancient sword sealed in a stone pedestal. As he approached, a strange sense of familiarity washed over him, as though the sword was calling out to him. What are you? Lin Wu murmured, his eyes fixed on the sword. Chapter 6. The Secret of the Sword Spirit. Late at night, the faint moonlight illuminated the abandoned area of the Heavenly Sword Sect. Lin Wu stood before an ancient stone pedestal where a sealed sword lay silently. The blade was long and sharp but covered in the dust of ages, while the hilt bore intricate ancient inscriptions that he couldn't decipher. From the moment he entered this area, Lin Wu felt a strange connection. It was as though the sword was calling to him, beckoning him closer. What are you? He murmured, his hand instinctively reaching out to touch the sword. As soon as his fingertips brushed the hilt, a surge of immense power erupted, enveloping his entire body. In an instant, his consciousness was pulled into an endless void where light and shadow intertwined. In this mysterious space, a voice rang out, strong yet laden with melancholy. At last, you have arrived. Lin Wu looked around but saw no one. The voice seemed to emanate from everywhere, surrounding him. Who are you? He asked, his tone cautious. I am part of the sword you just touched, a spirit sealed within for thousands of years, waiting for someone who can release me. Lin Wu frowned. Why me? Because you carry the memory of a war god within you. Your bloodline, your will, has awakened me. These words startled Lin Wu. He had never heard of any connection between himself and a war god. Yet, deep down, he felt that the voice wasn't lying. This sword is called the Celestial Heaven Sword. It was once the weapon of a war god but was sealed after a cataclysmic battle. I am the spirit of the sword, and I need your strength to set me free. And if I help you, what do I gain? Lin Wu asked, his gaze wary. You will gain power beyond any limits. But you will also become a target for those who covet such power. Hearing this, Lin Wu didn't waver. He was accustomed to being hunted and fighting to survive. If this sword truly offered strength, he was willing to take the risk. I accept, he said firmly. The sword spirit was silent for a moment, as though assessing his resolve. Finally, the voice spoke again, tinged with satisfaction. Good, but to fully unseal me, you must first pass a trial. Are you ready? Before he could respond, Lin Wu was pulled into a strange formation. Around him, images from his past surged forth. The betrayal he endured, the excruciating moment when Tong Min's sword pierced his heart, and the cold gazes of those who once called him a brother. The first trial. Face your deepest fear, the sword spirit declared. The image of Tong Min appeared before him, a cruel smile playing on his lips. Do you really think you can change your fate, Lin Wu? You will always be weak. Lin Wu clenched his fists, anger and resentment bubbling within him. But this time, he didn't retreat. You no longer have the power to decide my fate, he said loudly. I will take control of my own life. As those words left his lips, the image of Tong Min dissolved, and the space around him returned to stillness. When he regained consciousness, Lin Wu found himself still standing before the stone pedestal. However, the sword now emitted a faint glow, as though the seal had loosened slightly. You have done well, the sword spirit said. But to fully unseal me, you will need greater strength and a special spiritual stone hidden within this sect. Before Lin Wu could ask further, the energy from the sword receded, leaving him alone with his swirling thoughts. As Lin Wu left the abandoned area, he realized he wasn't alone. From the shadows, sharp eyes followed his every move. It seemed his interaction with the sword had drawn attention. Bai Shui appeared unexpectedly, her gaze as cold as ever. What were you doing there? That's none of your concern, Lin Wu replied calmly. Bai Shui frowned but didn't press further. You should be careful. That area isn't a place just anyone can wander into. If you don't want trouble, keep what you did to yourself. Though her words carried a hint of mockery, Lin Wu recognized them as a genuine warning. Bai Shui seemed to know more than she let on, which only deepened his curiosity about her. Not long after Lin Wu's encounter with the sword, rumors began spreading within the sect. Some senior disciples, and even elders, started paying closer attention to him. During a training session, a group of disciples led by Tun Kuang, a notorious senior disciple known for his brutality, approached him. I hear you dared to step into the forbidden zone? Tun Kuang said, his voice dripping with disdain. Don't think that just because you survived the trials, you have the right to act arrogantly here. What do you want? Lin Wu asked, his tone cold. I want to know what you found there, Tun Kuang said, signaling his lackeys to close in. Lin Wu quickly realized he was surrounded. But he felt no fear. With his newly restored spiritual energy and the partial support of the sword spirit, he fought back against the group. Though injured, he forced them to retreat. After the confrontation, Bai Shui approached him again, this time with a more serious demeanor. You can't face everyone alone, she said. You need allies. And you want to be my ally? Lin Wu asked, his gaze skeptical. Bai Shui smirked. I don't do anything for free. But if we work together, we might both achieve what we want. Though still wary, Lin Wu realized her offer had merit. Bai Shui's strength could be a valuable asset for the challenges ahead. Chapter 7. Partnering with Bai Shui. Bai Shui, with her sharp eyes and confident demeanor, stood before Lin Wu after his clash with the senior disciples. Her composed yet decisive actions made it hard for him to discern her true intentions. I've been observing you, Bai Shui said, her voice low and cold. You're not like the others. You don't shy away from confrontation, but you know when to hold back. That's why I'm making this proposal. Lin Wu frowned slightly, a trace of caution in his gaze. What proposal? There's a major competition coming up in the sect, where new disciples have the chance to showcase their abilities to the elders and advance quickly. But this is more than just a competition, it's a real battlefield. If you want to survive and move forward, we need to work together. Despite Bai Shui's seemingly indifferent tone, Lin Wu noticed the sincerity in her eyes. He knew that having an ally like her could only benefit him. All right, Lin Wu replied firmly. I accept. A few days later, all the new disciples were summoned to the sect's grand courtyard. The elders stood on a high platform, their authoritative gazes sweeping across the crowd. This competition was designed to test the disciples' comprehensive abilities, including strength, strategy, and teamwork. You will be divided into small groups, an elder announced. Your task is to gather rare spiritual herbs and resources from a forest protected by a formation. But remember, you will not only face spirit beasts but also other competitors. The courtyard buzzed with murmurs, a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Lin Wu and Bai Shui were quickly assigned to the same team. Their group included 3 other disciples, one of whom was a quiet youth named Lu Feng, whose sharp eyes and reserved demeanor hinted at hidden depth. Before entering the competition area, Lin Wu's team gathered to strategize. Bai Shui, being the most experienced, naturally took on the role of leader. She laid out a clear plan, detailing their tasks and how to handle potential dangers. You're not like other sword cultivators, Lu Feng remarked calmly, his tone carrying a hint of intrigue. I've heard you usually act alone. Why choose to cooperate this time? Because it's necessary, Bai Shui replied curtly, glancing at Lin Wu as if to affirm her decision. Though intrigued by Lu Feng's mysterious presence, Lin Wu remained silent. He knew it wasn't the right time to question his teammates. As they entered the competition area, the scenery transformed completely. The vast forest stretched endlessly, filled with towering ancient trees and an eerie atmosphere. The protective formation not only blocked exits but also made the spirit beasts within more aggressive. Moving cautiously, Lin Wu's team avoided drawing attention from other groups. Following their plan, they prioritized gathering spiritual herbs and only engaged with competitors when necessary. During their journey, Lin Wu spotted a rare herb growing on a precarious cliff. With Bai Shui's help, he climbed up and safely retrieved the herb for their team. You seem experienced with tasks like this, Bai Shui remarked as the group continued forward. I've faced far worse, Lin Wu replied, his eyes calm and steady. As the sun began to set, Lin Wu's group encountered a rival team of 5 disciples. These opponents were known for their aggressive and ruthless fighting style. Lu Feng, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward and spoke calmly, I'll handle the 3 on the left. The rest is up to you. Surprised by Lu Feng's confidence, the team had no time to question his decision. The battle erupted quickly, with Bai Shui leading the charge, her refined swordsmanship overwhelming their foes. Though Lin Wu's strength hadn't fully recovered, he coordinated seamlessly with her, forming a formidable duo. True to his word, Lu Feng single-handedly defeated 3 opponents, leaving everyone astonished. When the skirmish ended, Lin Wu's group emerged victorious and pressed on. After the battle, the atmosphere within the group grew lighter. Although Bai Shui maintained her cold exterior, she began conversing more with Lin Wu. You're not just strong. You're remarkably composed, she said as they rested under a large tree. I thought you'd be impulsive, but it seems I was wrong. And I didn't think you'd work with anyone, Lin Wu replied with a faint smile. Perhaps we both misjudged each other. A rare smile crossed Bai Shui's lips, a sight few had witnessed. Though unspoken, mutual trust began to form between them. As the competition drew to a close, Lin Wu's group successfully gathered enough spiritual herbs and fended off rival teams. They returned to the gathering point, weary but satisfied. The elders praised their teamwork and efficiency, especially highlighting Bai Shui's leadership and Lin Wu's steadfastness. When the list of winners was announced, their team ranked among the top, earning the admiration of the other new disciples. Though the competition had ended, it marked the beginning of more intricate relationships within the sect. The bond between Lin Wu and Bai Shui grew stronger, evolving from mere cooperation to mutual understanding and shared ambition. In the distance, Lu Feng stood silently, his gaze thoughtful. Though he said nothing, it was clear he harbored a significant secret. Chapter 8: Traps and Allies. After the major competition, the atmosphere in the Heavenly Sword sect grew tense. Rumors circulated about covert schemes among the elders and senior disciples. Lin Wu noticed the increasing scrutiny from those who had previously remained silent. Bai Shui, with her sharp intuition, couldn't ignore these changes either. One evening, she approached Lin Wu as he was training alone in the abandoned area of the sect. Do you sense it? She asked, her tone low but serious. The gazes following us? Lin Wu replied, his eyes reflecting vigilance. I sense them. It seems the elders aren't happy with the competition results. It's more than that, Bai Shui said. I've heard that a group of senior disciples has been ordered to monitor us. Do you think that's just a coincidence? A few days later, their suspicions were confirmed. One morning, as Lin Wu was about to leave the training grounds, he found an anonymous note left on his table. Its message was brief. "Be careful, you've become a target." This note solidified Lin Wu's doubts. Before he could share it with Bai Shui, a group of senior disciples, led by Tun Kuang, the one who had confronted him during the competition, appeared. "The sect wants to test your strength," Tun Kuang said with a sly smile. "You don't mind, do you?" Lin Wu understood this was no ordinary invitation. This test was a trap designed to expose his weaknesses. Under the supervision of an elder, the battle began. Lin Wu faced 3 senior disciples, all of whom possessed overwhelming strength. Despite anticipating the challenge, he was taken aback by their coordinated attacks and sheer power. Blow after blow forced Lin Wu to use every ounce of his strength and skill to evade and counterattack. Just as he began to gain the upper hand, one of the opponents activated a forbidden formation, trapping him in a confined space. From a distance, Bai Shui appeared. Seeing the danger, she immediately rushed in, ignoring the elder's objections. "This isn't a test of strength," she shouted, her sword flashing with silver light as she struck to break the formation. "This is an ambush." As the battle descended into chaos, another figure appeared, Lu Feng. With his usual calm demeanor, he stepped into the fray, his piercing gaze sweeping over the senior disciples. "That's enough," Lu Feng said, his voice quiet but authoritative. "If you continue, don't blame me for not showing mercy." The senior disciples hesitated. Lu Feng was not only a highly skilled elite disciple but also known for his unpredictable and dangerous nature. His presence compelled them to back off, though their eyes burned with hatred. As the tension subsided, Lu Feng turned to Lin Wu and Bai Shui. "Do you realize the kind of mess you've stepped into?" After leaving the battleground, the 3 of them found a safe place to talk. Lu Feng, his expression serious, began to reveal what he knew. "This sect isn't just a place for cultivation," he said coldly. "It's a battlefield for power struggles among the elders and outside forces. You've inadvertently gotten involved in one of their schemes." Lu Feng explained that the elders were trying to control promising disciples for their own agendas. Those who didn't comply would be eliminated, or worse, turned into test subjects for forbidden experiments. "And I suspect you two have become targets because of your abilities," Lu Feng concluded, his gaze sharp with warning. Though filled with doubts, Lin Wu and Bai Shui couldn't deny the truth in Lu Feng's words. After some discussion, the 3 decided to collaborate to face the common threat. Bai Shui would focus on gathering information from other disciples, while Lu Feng would use his underground network to monitor the elders' activities. Lin Wu, with his sharp instincts and newfound spiritual power from the sword spirit, would protect the group and detect potential dangers. "We can't act alone," Lu Feng said. "If we want to survive, we must trust one another." During a covert mission to infiltrate an elder's study for clues, the trio was discovered. A fierce battle ensued, but this time, their opponents included not only senior disciples but also complex formations laid out throughout the area. Lin Wu used his spiritual abilities to dismantle part of the formation, while Bai Shui and Lu Feng coordinated to fend off the elders. Though injured, they managed to escape with a fragment of critical documents. After the skirmish, the bond between Lin Wu, Bai Shui, and Lu Feng grew stronger. Lu Feng, who had always kept others at a distance, began to open up to his 2 companions. "I never thought I'd work with anyone," he admitted. "But perhaps, you two are an exception." "We don't have a choice," Lin Wu replied, his tone steady. "If we want to survive, we must rely on each other." Though unspoken, all 3 felt a growing sense of trust, a rare thing in a world rife with betrayal. With the documents they retrieved, the group discovered that the elders were planning a larger event where the true schemes would come to light. They resolved to dig deeper, fully aware that the path ahead would only grow more perilous. Chapter 9. The Oath of Loyalty. The sun dipped below the mountain range, painting the sky in hues of blood red and orange. Lin Wu, Bai Shui, and Lu Feng sat around a small fire in a secluded forest. The group had been moving constantly since their confrontation with the elders, seeking a safe place to lay low temporarily. A heavy silence hung in the air, broken only by the rustling wind and the flickering flames casting shadows on their faces. Lu Feng, usually reserved and distant, suddenly spoke, breaking the stillness. "Do you know why I despise the elders of this sect?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the fire. Bai Shui and Lin Wu turned to him, their eyes filled with curiosity. It was the first time Lu Feng had voluntarily shared anything about himself. Lu Feng took a deep breath, his voice dropping into a somber tone laden with pain. "I wasn't always like this. My family, a small but loyal clan to this sect, was destroyed by the very people they served." He recounted how his parents, once distinguished disciples of the sect, had devoted their lives and resources to its growth. But when an elder discovered that his family possessed a rare spiritual artifact, they were falsely accused of treason. My parents were executed publicly, Lu Feng said, his voice cold but his eyes blazing with hatred. And I, just a child at the time, survived only because of a loyal servant. From that day, I vowed never to forget this grudge. After losing his family, Lu Feng grew up consumed by hatred and a burning desire for revenge. He rejoined the sect under a false identity, concealing his true lineage while seizing every opportunity to climb the ranks. Over time, he became a distinguished disciple, gaining the attention of the elders. But I never forgot my goal, Lu Feng said resolutely. I've studied everything about them, uncovering their secrets. Now, I'm waiting for the right moment to expose it all. Lin Wu listened silently, his expression thoughtful. He could sense the sincerity and deep pain in Lu Feng's words. Then why choose us? Lin Wu asked. You could carry out your plan alone. Why do you need allies? Because you're the only ones I trust, Lu Feng replied. I've observed you both and seen your differences. You, Lin Wu, are not like the others in this sect. You don't crave power, you seek strength to protect yourself and those you care about. The atmosphere grew solemn as Lu Feng stood, his gaze unwavering as he looked at Lin Wu. If you help me achieve my goal, to overthrow the traitors who destroyed my family, I swear my loyalty to you. I will become your sword and shield, protecting you on whatever path you choose. Bai Shui, who had been silent until now, spoke up. You know this oath is no small matter. Once you've chosen this path, there's no turning back. I don't need to turn back, Lu Feng said firmly. I only need to move forward, with you. Lin Wu met his gaze, seeing the unshakable determination in his eyes. After a moment of silence, he nodded. All right, we'll do this together. After Lu Feng's oath, the group began discussing their next steps. They knew that to confront the elders and their schemes, they would need greater strength and resources. Lu Feng revealed that in a remote part of the sect, there was a hidden mystic realm containing ancient artifacts and rare spiritual stones. Though the elders had sealed it long ago, the seal appeared to be weakening recently. We need to get there before they do, Lu Feng said. If we can secure artifacts or resources from the mystic realm, it will be our greatest advantage. Though the plan was fraught with risks, the group agreed to Lu Feng's proposal. Lin Wu, with his keen sensitivity to spiritual energy, would lead the way in identifying the weakened seal. Bai Shui would take charge of defending the group from unexpected threats, while Lu Feng used his knowledge and network to navigate their path into the realm. We'll do this together, Bai Shui said, her gaze sweeping over her companions. No one gets left behind. In the days that followed, the group focused on preparation. Lin Wu trained intensively with the Celestial Heaven Sword, striving to master the immense spiritual power it held. Though the sword's seal remained partially intact, it had already become an integral part of his strategy. Meanwhile, Lu Feng used his network to monitor the elders' movements. He discovered that a group of senior disciples had been dispatched to investigate the mystic realm, further underscoring the importance of their mission. Once everything was ready, the group set out toward the mystic realm. The path was fraught with dangers, from treacherous terrain to ferocious spirit beasts. But through their seamless teamwork and exceptional combat abilities, the three overcame every challenge, drawing closer to their destination with each step. Standing before the gate to the mystic realm, the group felt the oppressive aura emanating from within. This was not just a repository of treasures but also a formidable trial, where only the strongest could survive. Lin Wu placed his hand on his sword, his eyes blazing with resolve. Let's do this, not for anyone else, but for ourselves. The group nodded in unison and stepped through the gate, venturing into a world filled with mystery and danger. Welcome to Fantasy Realms. Enjoy the story, and thank you for your support. Chapter 10. The Enchanted Mystic Realm. As the gate to the mystic realm slowly opened, an ethereal green light flooded the space, accompanied by an overwhelming pressure that enveloped the group. Lin Wu could feel the dense spiritual energy saturating the area. This wasn't just an ordinary land, it felt like an entirely separate world detached from reality. Giant ancient trees with luminescent blue leaves towered above, crystalline streams meandered through the terrain, and floating stones defied gravity, creating a surreal landscape. So, this is the mystic realm? Bai Shui murmured, her gaze wary. It's not just a mystic realm, Lu Feng said gravely. This was once a battlefield for ancient cultivators. Everything here carries both power and danger. As the group ventured deeper, they quickly realized that the mystic realm was far from peaceful. Within just a few steps, they were ambushed by strange creatures. Phantom-like figures with glowing red eyes emerged from the mist, lunging at them with incredible speed, emanating a murderous aura. Bai Shui unsheathed her sword, its silver gleam slicing through a phantom in an instant. Lin Wu, wielding the celestial heaven sword, coordinated with her to fend off the relentless assaults. Meanwhile, Lu Feng, avoiding direct combat, manipulated spiritual energy to create temporary barriers that shielded the group from unexpected attacks. After a tense battle, they finally overcame the horde of phantoms. This is just the beginning, Lu Feng warned. The deeper we go, the harsher the challenges will become. As they ventured further, the scenery began to shift. The once radiant ancient trees withered, the air grew suffocating, and the deep, resonant breaths of something massive echoed in the distance. Something is watching us, Bai Shui whispered, her hand resting on her sword's hilt. No sooner had she spoken than a massive beast appeared, a fire wolf wreathed in flames, its blood-red eyes gleaming menacingly. It roared, shaking the ground, and charged straight at the group. The trio sprang into action. Bai Shui deflected the beast's direct attacks with her sword, while Lu Feng erected barriers to hinder its movements. Lin Wu, channeling the power of the celestial heaven sword, delivered a decisive strike that pierced through the beast's fiery defenses, slaying it. So, this is the true power of that sword? Bai Shui asked, her eyes filled with curiosity. This is just a fraction, Lin Wu replied solemnly. The seal has yet to be fully released. After defeating the fire wolf, the group entered a massive cavern at the heart of the mystic realm. At its center, a radiant artifact floated midair, a colossal gem surrounded by ancient runes that rotated as if alive. That's the spirit core gem, Lu Feng exclaimed. It's an artifact capable of enhancing spiritual energy and neutralizing powerful formations. If we obtain it, our strength will increase significantly. However, as Lin Wu stepped closer to retrieve the gem, the cavern trembled violently. A protective formation activated, and massive stone statues surrounding the chamber began to move, radiating an intense killing intent. The stone statues, resembling ancient warriors, charged with astonishing speed. Each swing of their stone blades tore through the air with sharp gusts. Bai Shui led the defense, her refined swordsmanship countering one statue's attacks. Lu Feng, leveraging his knowledge of formations, quickly identified their weaknesses and directed the group. Aim for the runes on their chests, he shouted. That's their power source. Lin Wu focused his spiritual energy into the celestial heaven sword and unleashed a powerful strike, shattering one statue in a single blow. After a prolonged and grueling battle, the group managed to destroy all the statues. However, the victory came at a cost. Bai Shui sustained a minor injury to her arm, and Lu Feng had nearly exhausted his spiritual energy. With the formation destroyed, the spirit core gem slowly descended, emitting a gentle glow. Lin Wu carefully picked it up, feeling an immense surge of power coursing through his body. But just as he grasped the gem, a chilling laugh echoed from behind them. I never expected you to actually retrieve the artifact, a cold voice sneered. The group turned to see a team of senior disciples from the sect, led by Tun Quang. His greedy eyes fixated on the gem in Lin Wu's hands. Hand it over, Tun Quang demanded, his voice dripping with menace. Or you won't leave here alive. Facing an overwhelming number of opponents, the group knew they were in a precarious situation. Lin Wu tightened his grip on the spirit core gem, sensing its immense power but also aware of the risks of using it prematurely. We don't have a choice, Bai Shui said firmly. If they want a fight, we'll give them one. Lu Feng nodded, his gaze steely. I've been preparing for this moment for a long time. We won't back down. The battle against Tun Quang's group was fierce. Despite being outnumbered, Lin Wu's group fought with precision and determination, leveraging the artifact's power to turn the tide. In the end, Tun Quang and his allies were forced to retreat, their eyes burning with resentment. However, Lin Wu's group was left exhausted and decided to leave the mystic realm before another attack could occur. Upon returning to the sect, Lin Wu realized that possessing the spirit core gem had drawn the attention of not only senior disciples but also the elders. He knew that from this point onward, every move they made would be closely scrutinized. We've stepped into a far greater conflict than I anticipated, Lu Feng said cautiously. Then let's be ready, Lin Wu replied, his gaze resolute. Because I won't let anyone take this from us.